Lunchtime Yin. If you do not have furry creatures in your blanket, then you might be able to use it for a headrest or to put under your legs or something like that. If you do have peeps inside your blanket and you want it bad enough, you could probably evict them. Because they have blankets on the other side of the living room all for themselves. So we're going to start with a butterfly shape. Now I'm going to do this as a lying down shape with a little bit of a chest opener, but you could also do it as a seated forward bend. You just put your legs in the same shape. So I'm going to put a blanket underneath my knees. You could also use some yoga blocks. And I'm going to put a pillow down to go under my upper back. This could also be a block. If I have pillows handy, I like to use them because they're softer. But a block would work. Or two, one for your head and one for your shoulders. All right, so if you're not using a block but you're laying down, then you'll just lay down on the floor. And if you are using the block, try to get it, or whatever, I'm using a pillow, but same idea. Try to get it so that your shoulder blades are just right there on that surface and not much lower than your shoulder blades. So that the edge, especially with the blocks, the edge can be quite firm and you don't want it to poke you in the spine. If the shoulder blades are sitting right on the edge of it, then they will take all of the pressure. And then we're going to take the knees open so the legs make this butterfly shape. And again, if you've been feeling sort of a little bit pulled outward and you need to go a little more inward, you could do the forward bending version of this and just kind of let yourself curl up in a ball. This will also work for that for me if I just close my eyes. So you can close your eyes or leave them open. We're going to take a few moments to just concentrate on the breath. Now with Yin Yoga, we take our time, we sit in the poses for a bit. So we're gonna stay with this guy for about another minute. Just trying to let ourselves relax into and breathe and just you know, cut all the threads about stuff that's gonna happen later today or things that have already happened. Just being present for our breath and the pose in the moment. we're going to take a nice big breath. Let go with a little sigh. Now I'm going to bring my knees together first. And then I like to take just a moment to straighten my legs out before I come off of the bolster. But you might want to get off the blocks quicker. They can be a little more pushy. All right, so once I've gotten everything out from underneath the back, come back onto your back, and then, you can give yourself a little bit of a rock just to notice all the sensations there in that area. Can you still feel a little bit of the impression left behind? Usually for me, if I use a firmer surface like the block or the pillow, there's a kind of sense that my upper back softens and spreads out wide, almost like a puddle, which I find very nice. So you can just enjoy that sensation for a few moments, or, you know, move your legs around or do a little rock on your back, whatever you like. So we're gonna take ourselves into a twist next, and you can use some props to kind of lean your legs into, or you can let your legs rest on the floor if that's available to you. So when you're ready, and I'm not rushing you, just when you get there, you can bring the legs over to one side. So I'm gonna go to the right first today, and I'm gonna use the pillow that I was using, or you could use a block or your blanket. And I'm gonna put that underneath so that there's a little bit less around my hip, and I can concentrate a little more on getting my shoulders completely to the floor. If you wanted a little more in your hip, then you can let your legs come over a little farther. Okay, so that'll orient you maybe a little more towards your hips. Just find the right balance for you. I've taken this top leg and kind of thrown it over because that helps give me a tiny bit more along that IT band area. And then I'm just gonna work it out with my shoulders so that I put my arm in the position where I feel the stretch in my chest muscle. And with yin, we're not trying to go to the point where we almost can't stand it. We want to go to the point where, oh, I feel that. That's about right. And then if it softens as you hold the pose, then deepen it another notch. Go a little farther towards the edges of the range of motion. But if you already feel it and you keep getting pushy, then there's a risk for damage. So we want to be really kind and moderate. Yin is really the principle of the Tao that is about being receptive rather than pushing forward. So we're allowing ourselves to try to be receptive to sensation, receptive to the moment, to relaxing into the shape, so that we're not doing the shape as much as we're being, being the shape, if that makes any sense at all. So I feel there's a moment where I can tell that I'm in the right spot and I can settle. And so I'm finding that, you know, that initial wariness maybe that my nervous system has when I first get into a shape. After about a minute, I can feel my body relax a little more deeply. I'm always looking for that. If after a minute or so, I don't feel that relaxation, I either need to check in and see if I'm accidentally holding tension, or if I need to adjust the pose. Sometimes we just have habits of stress and tension that we hold in the body, so that could be true as well. We can be mindful of letting that go. Stay here for about another 6 breaths or so. take this top leg and bring it back, and then let the bottom leg follow me. And then when I get there, I'm gonna just give myself a few moments to release this left side. So that was the side where I was getting a little bit more of that pressure. And sometimes this is fun to me, to just kind of check and see, is the side that I was really feeling a lot of sensation now different than the side I wasn't feeling any sensation on? And my left side feels like it's a little bit longer than the right side. A little bit longer leg, a little bit longer in the arm. So that's information that's being sent back to my brain from the fascia, which is what we're targeting with yoga anyway, and yin very much specifically. And so when I can feel those kinds of pleasant, like lengthening or softening sensations, I feel like I'm on the right track. If when I come out of a pose I feel a little bit cranky or a little bit sore, then I would want to back off a little bit and do the pose much more gently next time. I am almost ready to do the other side. I'm going to take about 2 more breaths. I can tell when my spine is ready because there's a sense that my pelvis returns to balance. And so I'm just waiting for that. Sometimes it just feels like you can feel the twist finally come out of your spine. The body moves fluid around to accommodate all this stuff, and so we just wait for it to put it back where it belongs. All right, so I'm taking my legs over to the left, and this side's a little different for me, plus I'm a little close to the furniture, so I might move a tiny notch. So I just adjust until I feel like I'm in the right spot. So there's a little bit of sensation in my outer hip, but I can easily get my shoulders to the ground so that I can emphasize this chest muscle stretch. If my shoulder hangs off the floor and I try to go for the chest muscle, I risk my shoulder a little bit. So I want the shoulder to be down so that I'm not potentially creating problems for myself. You can also put a blanket under there though. If you just can't get the shoulder to the ground, you can certainly build up the floor. And so once you're in the shape, and give yourself that moment to see, does everything kind of settle nicely? And you can adjust your head position as you like and just relax into it and breathe. We'll stay a while. Minute left, and again, just check in with yourself and see, is it feeling nice? Do you still feel some sensation? Should you make any changes? And then it might just be drop what you were just thinking about and come back to your breath, right? Quite often that is the necessary adjustment for me. to take one more big breath where I am. And I'm gonna just bring myself back to the center. And give myself a chance to kind of shake that out a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna come to a seated position, and if you need a couple of moments to do some little cat-cow shapes or something like that, by all means do those. Oh. Ready. So, welcome back. So we're gonna do a V shape with the legs. I put a blanket underneath my knees, and then we're gonna bend one knee. Okay, so this is a half dragonfly. So the thighs still make the V. You just bend one, and some people may want to swing the foot all the way into the center. I like to leave a little bit more space, just so the knee has a little bit more room. Now we're gonna turn towards the bent leg. So you might need to make a little bit of an adjustment just so you can keep both your sit bones on the floor. So sometimes I find myself leaning off of a sit bone. So I just wanna get heavy there and then just twist so that you are turned towards that knee. And we're gonna just pause here. You can put your hands down wherever they land. If you're like me and you've got really short arms, you can even put some props underneath your arms, like some blocks or pillows or whatever you got. Just so you have a place to kind of rest the shoulders a little bit down your back. And you can turn the head quite dramatically into the twist. You can turn the head the other way. I like to just let the head sort of go along for the ride. I'm turning a little bit into the twist with the neck, but not being overly aggressive on that one. I don't want to be overly aggressive on anything. Once again, really. Sometimes my eyeballs want to keep going, even though the spine has stopped. What else is back there? Just twisting to a degree that's appropriate. We're going to stay for about another minute, not quite a minute and a half, minute 20 seconds or so. Just with the twist and just breathing nice and deep. So part of the magic of yoga poses is not all just in the pose adjustment, the body shape, but it's also in breathing in that shape, right? So that's the real magic comes because we are asking the internal area of the body to make adjustments as well, right? When we twist the spine, the internal organs get hold in terms of the fascia that holds everything together in our center. That also all gets tugged on. So you'll notice when you twist that one lung expands a little more easily than the other. The diaphragm moves a little differently to accommodate that. Sometimes when we're doing poses to the side, you'll feel the same kind of an adjustment to the breath. That's all pretty great. Pretty interesting stuff. So we take a big breath, And then I'm gonna take myself into a side bend out over this left leg. So I turn towards my bent right knee. Now I'm going over my straight left leg. Now you can bring your arm up over your ear, but we're gonna stay here for about 2 minutes. So you could also just leave your arm down. Sometimes I'll just leave it down. Today I'm gonna wrap it behind my back. I also appreciate being able to support my head. So you could put some props like a little yoga block there so you have a little headrest. Because the side of my neck, I want it to just feel the stretch, but not necessarily too intensely. It doesn't feel like I'm causing any trouble for myself. But I do want my spine to be bending sideways, so I've got the tissue on this side being stretched and opened up. And the other side is kind of curling in on itself a bit. Here. We're going to take 2 more breaths. Now I'm going to unwind my arm first, just to give that a little bit of a movement. Then I'm going to use that arm just kind of reaching out through it to help myself up. Take your time, because your spine's going to still feel like it wants to go that way. So I'm going to bend the knee that was straight and kind of straighten the leg that was bent. Give it all a little bit of movement. So then I'm going to come back to the V and I'm going to do the other side. Now if your spine still feels like it's leaning sideways, don't go anywhere yet. But if it feels like it's more or less kind of come back, you can start the twist. And now I find generally that my twist deepens over a couple of breaths. So I'll start where I start. And after a few breaths, I might be able to turn a little bit more. Now again, sometimes I find myself leaning away from the sit bone, so I just check in with that each time. Make sure I'm evenly weighting my pelvis. And that way the twist is happening in my spine. There's nothing wrong with the hips helping us twist. In some poses it's quite necessary because of the, like, whatever agenda you may have. If you want to bind your arms in a very specific twist, you're going to probably need to use your pelvis for help. But you can also choose to simply isolate the twist to the spine and not worry about the other parts of the pose. And that, for me, in this particular regard, is what we're up to. So this is a class, we always get to the hips, but largely I'm devoting today's lunchtime yin to the spine. So we'll hang out here. Got like just a tiny bit over another minute, and then we'll do our little side bend. really big inhale. And then I'm going to let myself side bend over this way. I'm just going to take my time. I might need to unwind and twist a little bit, adjust the props. Just kind of gently work my way, relax my way into this other shape. Just shy of another minute or so here. Take a nice big deep breath. Let go with a big sigh. And then we're going to try to make our way up. Unwind. Alright, yogis. Since we've done a little bit of this kind of yin-yang work with our spine, we're going to do a similar idea, and we'll end with a breath practice today. So this practice is called Chandra Bedana, or lunar breathing. So in the Hatha Yoga way of thinking about things, the left nostril is the lunar nostril, or the cooling yin channel. The right nostril is the yang or solar channel, the active channel. So we're going to emphasize the lunar channel by inhaling through the left nostril and exhaling through the right. Now, the first thing you got to make sure of is, can I breathe through both my nostrils individually? Because if one of your nostrils is blocked up, you're not going to want to close the other one off completely. This is a breathing practice. So we need to be able to breathe. Then you're going to take your peace sign fingers and just rest them on your forehead. Use your ring finger and your thumb on your nostrils. So if you do have a blocked nostril, or just you can't breathe as deeply as you want to, don't close the other one off. You'll just rest your finger or your thumb, depending on which one it is. Use your dominant hand on that nostril, and just pay attention as you inhale to the left one. Pay attention as you exhale to the right, okay? So first, just nice big breath with both nostrils. Let yourself exhale. And then the next time your inhale comes along, inhale through the left if you can. Just take your time, don't be forceful. Exhale through the right. Just work at your pace. Inhale left. Exhale right. Just keep working at that. We're going to do about another 7 or 8 rounds. 2 more rounds. Done with that second exhale, just let your just release your hand, and then just notice where that practice brought you. So some people report that they feel calmer when they do this practice. Some people say they feel cooler when they do this practice. Like whatever the ideas are, like for me what always happens is I want to just see what happens, and I try to do a breathing practice more than once. Before I make up my mind. This one I like to do at the end of a yoga practice or before I go to bed, anytime I kind of want to just reinforce a sort of calm mental state. And sometimes I've used it too just because if I feel a little agitated or grouchy, I can use this breath practice to sort of bring me back into a level-headed mind state. So you can try it, experiment with it on your own. Thank you for joining me for Yin Yoga lunch break. Let's take a big breath together and let go with a big Namaste, yogis. Welcome to the rest of your day.